Phang Bay in Thailand was a mysterious exhibition created by the wind and sea. I met a people who resembled the fate of the sea, sometimes rough and sometimes beautiful. It was a journey that offered healing because it could be felt with the heart and not just seen with the eyes. I learned to empty my heart in order to fill it. My next destination starts where the strong fragrance of life wafts along the Amphawa River. I witnessed the flight of thousands of bats and how people had learned to coexist with them. I saw how consideration towards all life forms can win you a great friend in Thailand. My next destination takes me to Western Thailand, where beautiful coexistence exists. The last part of my journey begins. My trip starts in Amphawa, about 1 hour from the capital city, Bangkok. The river colored with the sunset sparkles. A new river starts here. And where there is a river, are bound to be people living nearby. I set out to look for a floating village where people live with the river. Mae Klong River. What story does this river have to tell us? This is not an artificially created floating village, but a naturally formed village. It is the Amphawa floating market.
수상시장이 시작되는 구간이에요. 암파와에.
Nothing has been artificially prepared to attract tourists. The village people have lived like this always. Not overly commercial, the attraction that Amphawa provides is the everyday life of the locals. The river is merely a mundane backdrop to the locals. They come out to maintain the stairs into the river and wash them. I wonder where this lady is swimming to. The boat ride along the river continually brings new views into focus. The waterway is not just for transportation. There are people fishing along it as well.
ทำอะไรคะพี่
ตกกุ้งเล่น
ๆจับได้เยอะไหมพี่ไม่ค่อยเยอะ
คงจะออกมาตกกลางคืน
여기는 수상시장이기도 하지만 실제 주민들이 지금 생활하고 있는 곳이거든요. 그래서 여기서 씻기도 하시고 수영도 하시고 다 생활하시는 모습이 그대로 지금 보이고 있어요.
This is a place where the unity of the river and nature can be felt more than city lights. And perhaps because of this, a legend has been handed down in the village.
เกี่ยวกับว่าผีมันก็เยอะเมื่อก่อนสมัยก่อนนี่มันไม่เจริญพวกนี้มันมืดนะมันก็อาจจะมีผีโบราณมีผีบ้างอะไรพวกนี้โบราณเขาก็เลยตั้งชื่อคลองนี้ว่าเป็นคลองผีหลอกนะฮะ
Traveling up the water, I am met with an unfamiliar lifestyle that unfolds itself like a book. We slow the boat down at the sound of children laughing. Wherever we stop and climb the stairs leads, we find a house.
เรียนถามนิดนึงนะคะเกี่ยวกับชีวิตของ
There are even fences between houses.
ทานข้าวเหรอคะ
We stopped by a house where the family were having a meal by the river porch.
보이나? 지금 저녁 식사하고 계신데 방문을 해봤어요.
The family warmly welcomed us, despite our sudden visit. The boys are still lost in swimming. One of the boys seemed to have disappeared, but he had just dived into the water for a long time. The river is a swimming pool and a boatway as well. This house is a renovation of an old house that has been turned into lodging for tourists. It is an area shared by locals and strangers. I went inside to see what a room in a floating house looked like. The room had all the necessities a traveler might need. The house had 2 floors.
여기는 4명이 묵을 수 있는 방이거든요. 너무 아늑하고 좋아요.
Although there was no furniture, it was a neat room.
뭐 호텔만큼의 화려함이나 편리함은 없겠지만 그래도 원래 이곳에 사시던 주민들의 실제 생활을 직접 느낄 수 있고 또 그 안에서 안락함과 소박함을 함께 느낄 수 있는 아주 좋은 쉼터가 되어주는 것 같습니다.
A traveler could make valuable memories in a place like this. The homeowner, who was born and raised in Ampawa, says that she has no plans of leaving here.
อากาศก็ไม่ค่อยร้อนแล้วก็ใช้น้ำท่าแล้วก็สะดวกอาบน้ำท่าซักเสื้อผ้าก็บางทีก็ใช้ในคลองอาบน้ำก็ในคลองได้สะดวกทุกอย่าง
The idea of convenience can really differ depending on the individual. After sunset, Ampawa transforms itself altogether. A dynamic floating market opens at night. The Ampawa market is the only market in Thailand that opens at night. Both sides of the river are filled with stores that draw the eye. The highlight of the market is a series of restaurant boats harbored on the river. The owners are busy preparing all sorts of food. Seafood is on the menu, of course. My feet are led on by the unfamiliar sights and smells. The dishes here are served in a unique way. The dish is put in a basket with a long handle and delivered to the customer. Then the customer pays by putting money in the basket and even receives change. A more appropriate transaction method could not exist. Because I was hungry and wanted to enjoy the busy atmosphere, I took a seat at one of the restaurants. I ordered a delicious-looking crab dish.
안파와는 태국에서 유일하게 저녁에 열리는 수산시장인데요. 오늘은 주말이라 그런지 사람들이 굉장히 많고 아주 활기찹니다. 이 지역이 또 밀물과 해물, 바닷물이 만나는 지역이라서 수산물이 굉장히 유명한데요. 저도 게를 한번 시켜봤어요. 너무 맛있을 것 같아요. 한번 먹어볼게요.
The well-cooked crab was full of meat inside the hard shell.
와, 배가 진짜 싱싱해요. 너무 싱싱하고 굉장히 맛있어요.
My taste buds are happy. I'm enjoying the festive mood. and there is a $1 million scene in front of me. This is a real traditional Thai floating market, and not a place created for travelers. I can enjoy different facets of the market depending on whether I walk slowly along it or whether I take a step back to watch the market reflected on the river. Passing by stores set up in century-old houses, I became nostalgic for the old days. There were postcards, something that I hadn't used in ages. Upon seeing a postcard with a faded picture of Ampawa on it, I suddenly wanted to send a postcard to an old friend of mine.
ชีวิตคุณไปแวะร้านซีนี้ค่ะสุขมากค่ะก็อยู่เรียบๆถ้าวันธรรมดาก็เงียบๆนะคะจันทร์ถึงพฤหัสแล้ววันศุกร์ตอนเย็นก็มีคือมีศุกร์เสาร์อาทิตย์แต่วันศุกร์คนยังไม่ค่อยมาเสาร์อาทิตย์คน
The store owner smiled, saying that she enjoys meeting different people. I hope that the market remains as humble and authentic, just as it is now. There is a place in Ratchaburi province where one can see a grand sight. One thing to remember is that one must reach the place before sunset. Because when the sun sets in the west, the sky will be darkened by something. That something is a seething swarm of nocturnal hunters, bats. The locals call it the cave of 100 million bats.
이 동굴의 또 다른 입구로는 박쥐들이 해가 지기 시작하면 먹이를 찾으러 날아가는 광경을 볼 수가 있다고 해요. 그쪽으로 한번 가보겠습니다.
The entrance of the bat cave is on top of a limestone hill. One must climb hundreds of stairs to reach the top. I was almost out of breath. When I finally reached the top, I could see the whole village at once. I carefully climbed down a few meters along the limestone, where I could hear a great noise coming out from between the rocks. It was the sound of bats. And finally, the time came. A black swirl appeared in the sky. Every night, the bats begin their flight in search of food. It looks like black smoke is being sucked out of the cave.
네, 이곳이 지금 박쥐들의 동굴 출입구인데요. 이 수천만 마리의 박쥐들이 줄을 지어서 날아가는 모습이 정말 그야말로 장관입니다.
Around 2,000 bats fly out each second. The cries of the bats sound like water cascading down a waterfall. The bats will return during the early dawn after they are done hunting. Once the bats have left, the cave offers a precious opportunity to the locals. Once a week, the locals find treasure in the cave. Inside the cave are bats that have returned early after hunting, and several thousand pups. Surrounded by complete darkness in the odor and dust are people who are diligently sweeping the floor. They are collecting the bat's excrement. Bat excrement is an excellent source of fertilizer. It is an important source of income for the locals. At one time, bat meat was popular, and bats became almost extinct. But the government led the way in protecting bats, and in return, the bats are giving back black gold. The locals fortunately did not make the mistake of eating the goose that lays the golden egg. However, collecting bat excrement is an arduous task that needs to be done while fully covered up. The bat excrement collected in a single week amounts to 3 tons. A few years ago, bat excrement was unknowingly thrown away under a tree, and the locals found out that the tree bore fruit more abundantly than the surrounding trees. Afterwards, bat excrement started to be used as fertilizer.
เป็นปุ๋ยที่จะได้รับการวิจัยจากสถาบันต่างๆที่เกี่ยวข้องที่เขามาเอาตัวอย่างจากที่นี่ไปเขาพบว่ามันมีธาตุหลายๆชนิดที่เยอะกว่ามูลสัตว์ทั้งหมดปุ๋ยตัวนี้ดีที่สุด
The bat is an animal to be thanked because it hunts vermin and provides fertilizer.
이 박쥐 배설물로 만든 비료가요, 인기가 대단해서 올해 말까지 예약이 꽉 차 있다 그래요. 정말 자연이 인간에게 준 아주 위대한 선물인 것 같습니다.
The job of collecting bat excrement is not easy, but it was a little sad that most of the income went to the temple that owns the cave.
10 ขวบ
ตั้งแต่10 ขวบ
ตอนนี้41เลย
30 กว่าปี ได้รายได้ประมาณเท่าไหร่อะคะทำงานวันหนึ่ง
ตีว่าเดือน4 ครั้งเนี่ย4 อาทิตย์
4 อาทิตย์
อาทิตย์ละตกประมาณถ้าแล้วแต่ถ้าขี้เยอะขี้น้อยนะบางทีก็ 400-500 ถ้าไม่มีเลยก็300
When morning comes, the collected excrement is sorted out. Now it will be shipped off to various farms. There are people who want the job finished as quickly as the workers do. They are farm owners who have not been able to reserve excrement and are hoping for some leftovers.
กินพืชมันก็ไม่ค่อยดีถ้าแหล่งกินแมลงก็ดีอย่างภาคนี้มันแหล่งกินแมลงบ้านผมอยู่จันทน์นู่นทางนู้นมันค้างคาวกินพืชก็ไม่นิยมใช้ใส่แล้วไม่เห็นผล
The locals were able to receive this gift from nature because they chose to coexist with the bats. What are some other ways that nature, humans, and animals can exist together? There are more evidence of that coexistence in the dense forest of Thailand. This evidence can be found in Kui Buri National Park at the western end of Thailand. The people were gathered on a hill where the forest can be seen from above. They were waiting for something. After a long time, a parade of wild elephants appeared below. The elephants are an endangered species, and the national park is a precious habitat for them. We moved to a location where we might see the elephants more closely. The fallen tree and grass that had been cut short indicated that elephants had passed by. But the surest way of tracking an elephant is by following its droppings. The elephant droppings can also be used to assess the health of the elephant.
보통 아침에 코끼리 배설물을 체크해보면 건강 상태를 대충 알 수가 있는데요. 이 배설물에 섬유질이 많이 섞여 있을수록 건강한 거라고 합니다.
We have been searching for a long time for elephants. When finally, we spotted one. Thailand was once the kingdom of elephants, with around 100,000 elephants inhabiting the lands. However, today there are only about 600 elephants left.
ใกล้จะสูญพันธุ์เพราะว่าช้างป่าเนี่ยเป็นช้างที่เราใช้รบมาก่อนสร้างประเทศมาก่อนเราน่าจะต้องอนุรักษ์ไว้
Even today, the number of elephants is dwindling. Will we still be able to see wild elephants in the next generation? The Thai people's love for elephants is great. The elephant always appears in historical events. This is King Naresuan, one of the most respected Thai kings. The elephant that had protected and fought with him in the war against Burma was given the highest honor.
태국인들은 코끼리를 일반적인 동물과 동일시하지 않고 사람과 영혼을 교감할 수 있는 사람과 가장 친밀한 동물로 여깁니다.
The role of the elephant has changed with the times. And how people take care of elephants has changed as well. Elephant World is an asylum for elephants. The elephants were eating when we visited. They showed off how they could roll pineapples with their noses and put them in their mouths. Volunteers from around the world were having fun with the elephants while feeding them.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
One of the elephants became playful towards the camera. I also offered an elephant a pineapple, and it was accepted without hesitation. These elephants do not appear to be wary of people. However, all of the elephants here are old and sick. There was one elephant that was standing alone, unable to come to the food. He could only eat when people put the food in his mouth.
ก็พอดีพอเขาอายุเยอะด้วยแล้วก็ตาเสียสองข้างด้วยเจ้าของก็เลยสงสารอะไรก็เลยนำมาให้ที่นี่ดูแลเพราะว่าที่นี่อยู่ที่นี่ก็คือไม่ต้องทำงานอะไร
These elephants were used for tourist rides or shows, then abandoned when old. A small calf could be seen among the older elephants. He made several attempts to eat the pineapple, but kept on dropping it. After several attempts, he finally succeeded. He looked so proud of his feat. How did this calf end up in a sanctuary for retired elephants?
คือแม่เขาครับต้องไปทำงานไปอะไรเงี้ยไม่มีที่เดิมเขาครับคือช้างตัวนี้ไม่มีใครเลี้ยงนะครับเพราะแม่เขายังทำงานลากไม้ลากอะไรเข้าป่านะครับก็คือถ้าทิ้งไว้ไปตัวเดียวก็คือไม่มีใครดูแล
The baby elephant might have ended up on the streets to beg for money, but here it has become a well-cared-for and playful elephant. Because elephants are popular in Thailand and are considered smart and easy to train, they are often used to support human greed. The elephants that were used commercially and then abandoned often die in loneliness. This center was established to at least provide a peaceful end for the elephants. The most delicate consideration is given to the elephants, who were abused all their lives for human profit. It is time for the elephants to take a shower. All of the elephants go in the water. The calf also joins in, mimicking the elders and barely keeping his head above the water. The view is one of peaceful nature. There are many volunteers who have come to take care of the elephants instead of traveling to tourist spots.
And I've been to more tourist elephant places where they put the seats on the back, and I know it's not good for them, so I wanted to come to some place where I know they treat the animals better.
I also wanted to treat the elephants as friends and volunteered to help with the shower. Elephants and humans become one. Feeling each other's body temperature, I washed the back parts that the elephant could not reach with its own nose. The people did not care that there were elephant feces floating in the water because it was part of nature. After taking a shower, the elephants passed a leisurely afternoon. Elephants with scars were medically treated.
เขาจะคันพอคันแล้วจะไปถูต้นไม้พอถูต้นไม้ถูไปมากๆเนี่ยมันก็จะเป็นแบบเป็นถลอกอะอักเสบ
The vet who sanitizes and treats the elephants every day is Dr. Samat Prisapon, the founder of the Elephant Asylum.
การเช็คนี้นะฮะเคยทำงานอยู่ที่ปางช้างที่พัทยาเราก็จะพบเห็นปัญหาว่าเวลาช้างที่เขาอายุมากๆที่ปลดระวางเนี่ยมันยังไม่มีสถานที่ที่รองรับนี้เราคิดว่าเขาทำงานมาทั้งชีวิตและเพื่อช่วยเหลือทำเงินให้กับเจ้าของทำสร้างรายได้ให้กับประเทศนะฮะเป็นจำนวนมากนะฮะก็คิดว่าในช่วงบั้นปลายของชีวิตน่าจะมีชีวิตความเป็นอยู่ที่ดีก็เลยคิดโครงการตรงนี้ขึ้นมา
Volunteers who want a more meaningful travel experience than scanning tourist spots participate in feeding and washing the elephants. When a farmer offers to donate his banana stalks to the elephants, the volunteers go to harvest the food. I felt most energetic at the thought of helping out. All of the volunteers seem to think that way as well, even though they had been strangers. The volunteers became friends in no time.
다 마음이 따뜻한 사람들이 여기 오는 것 같아요. 그래서 그런지 금방 다들 친해져가지고 벌써 막 웃고 떠들고 분위기가 너무 좋아요.
The volunteers' day is full of work. Now it is time to prepare a special snack. It looks delicious.
이게 이가 없는 아픈 코끼리들을 위해서 지금 죽을 만들고 있어요. 여기 지금 찹쌀하고요. 그다음에 호박하고 고구마하고 여러 가지 들어있어요. 바나나하고.
This is how much one elephant eats. Because of its size. The thick soup must be rolled into a bite-sized ball for the elephant. The amount of food given to each elephant depends on their size. And that's not all. The food is then covered with a special powder.
And sometimes we add salt or vitamins if they're sick. We add vitamins and medicines in this. So.
The meal made with love is finally ready. The elephant that will eat the food finally appears. This toothless elephant is the oldest one in the center.
74세 송크란이라는 암컷이에요.
When I gave a food ball to her, she ate it right away.
너무 착해, 순해.
She seemed to like the meal. Several of the volunteers went around feeding the elephants. They put in their hands deep into their mouth, showing the trust between the elephant and volunteers. The returns and joy I gained from volunteering were worth much more than the time I put in.
관광을 오지만 이게 나를 위한 관광이 아니라 코끼리를 위한 관광이 되는 거예요. 그러면서도 또 코끼리는 자신의 삶을 영위할 수 있고 우리도 여기서 같이 마음의 힐링을 같이 얻어가고 서로 공생하는 그런 관광인 것 같아요.
Helping others is a way to heal oneself. I hope that the last days of these elephants will be happy because they have dedicated their whole lives to humans. It was a time to share love with humans and animals alike. I realized once again that the secret to being happy together as people is to be considerate to each other.